you what, a person who believes that this wasn't set up by our own government is an idiot.
These errors, I want to do this under 10 minutes, so just follow along. If you haven't watched the videos online and haven't taken notes, well, now is not the time. Remember, the definition of a sentence is a group of organized words that contain subject-verb relationship and completes a thought. Of course, we already know that. The first of the four types of sentences, the simple sentence, which of course you already know, and you've already been writing, and you already understand the structure, is basically a group of organized words that contains a subject-verb relationship to the end of what I just said. Yes, they can be long or short as long as it follows that guideline of that definition. For instance, not for instance. The compound sentence. This is where things got a little more complicated, but quite easy if we remember just a few basic rules with sentence structure. Number one, it consists of two clauses. Second quarter, we talked about clauses. It consists of two independent clauses connected by, for a lack of better terms, acronym fanboys. And that acronym fanboy stands for and, nor, but. No, participation is group activities. Lecture time is listening to me. And that's what time it is now. Okay. That, I think, probably the easiest of the sentence type, structure, rule taking, understanding. This is not the time to take notes. Now, there's a video on the site that's been up there for I don't know how long. You could have taken notes on it every day for the past 2 weeks. So now is not the time. Another way we can connect independent clauses is using what we call correlative conjunctions, also known as expressions when dealing with parallelism. You need to know these. This is a short list of a longer list that you need to know for the SAT. This is a short list of a longer list that you need to know, but definitely these are the essentials when talking about sentence structure. But these words, these expressions are also used in other grammatical concepts that you have to know, such as parallelism, comparison, so forth and so on. So this is a very short list of a longer list you have to know. So hopefully you've been studying them. Moving right along. We can also connect independent clauses to make a compound sentence just using simple punctuation marks like the colon, the semicolon, and the double dash. And of course, whenever you use these, you must have an independent clause following it. Okay, moving on. The next is the conjunctive adverb, which is my favorite. There's a few areas that we learn these words. One of them is transitional words when dealing with writing. And of course, the other is connecting independent clauses. Now, this is a really short list. The list is much longer, but this is just enough to get you started and just enough to help you to understand. The special thing about the conjunctive adverbs is that when you use them to connect independent clauses, you must use a semicolon before and a comma after. You need to take notes. Also, you should have been taking notes on the web, the site. So, the notes that you're taking now is anything that you didn't quite understand that you understand now that I'm standing up here. Other than that, there's not really much notes to be taken. This is just a review. Now to the compound sentence examples. We don't need to go over because we went over them online. So, let's get down to something a little more interesting, like this. Yes. This is just an example of a type of sentence you probably would have seen had you taken the old SAT. The new SAT is going to have these same things, but in a much more difficult way. And some of you are learning that much more difficult way because the tests and quizzes that we have had and we are going to have examples of the new SAT. And, some of you are struggling with those paragraph 1, 2 stuff. Well, get used to it because that's what you're going to be dealing with when you take the SAT. So, have fun with that. Okay, so we see and also it is underlined, and just by knowing that little short list of expressions are correlative conjunctions, we know that there should be, if there is a not only, there should be a but also. Is there a not only? Yes, it is. So that should be but also. So even without seeing the answer choices, we know one of them need to contain but also. That's the good thing about it. And some other examples. You went over it online. We don't need to do it now. And we went over that online. You don't need to do it now. The complex sentence is the thing that's giving everybody the headache. The complex sentence. Why? Because it's complex. It's not as easy as the compound. Obviously, we got a whole lot of other things to consider. Forget about the definition. But basically, this is what it is. Oh, well, wait a minute. That was the... Did we miss something? Okay. All right. Complex sentence. Okay. So this is... Okay. Basically, this is what it is when you break it down into its little part. It's an independent clause and an independent clause. But the only difference from it and the compound is you got to use this little thing called subordinating conjunction in between them, or before or after them. Various ways. That's why they call it complex. It's so complex. No, I know that's what I thought too, but we missed an independent clause that we converted to a dependent clause. So you got the same thing I got when I was like, wait a minute, did I skip something? Okay, all right, so let's look at this, and we can't look at this without looking at that. And if you looked at that and you didn't really look at that, you didn't really look at that, and you didn't write it down, and you didn't study it, then that's why you're having problems with complex sentences. And this is only some of them. This is only some of them. But this is the basics. So when I check your notebooks, which I will do here soon, which is going to be 5% of your third quarter grade, I'm looking for certain things. I'm looking for certain things. I ain't going to tell you what those things are, but they are things that you're going to need. One moment. Hello? Hello? Relative pronouns. That, without a doubt, across the board, is the thing giving everybody headaches. Remember, relative pronouns create dependent clauses. They create dependent clauses. Oftentimes, you find them in the middle of independent clauses. You find a clause that begins with one of these in the middle of an independent clause. It's not a part of the independent clause, but it's in the middle of the independent clause, usually giving us more information about something. And that's where a lot of people get confused at. So when they see a sentence and they see that and they say, okay, wait a minute, there's only one, because it's like the relative pronoun that starts, the dependent clause is invisible, and they only see one, and they say, well, simple sentence. Well, no, it's a complex sentence. It's just the dependent clause is in the middle of the independent clause. It starts with a relative pronoun. So it's not rocket science. It's pretty easy. But, of course, we already discussed all that. Come on in. We ain't got time for you to, do your... Okay, thank you. Okay. All right. Okay. Yes. We already went over these on. There you go. Let's continue here. We don't need to go over these. We went over these also. Well, we did. Okay. So, but back to this, and back to my point. You got to know these. You got to know these categories. You got to know these subordinating conjunctions. You got to be able to use them and identify how they're being used. Okay, we all agree with that. Yes. And here we go. Okay, so let's get past this. I'm going to get to what you were talking about. Okay, so compound prepositions. Don't be confused. Compound prepositions are not subordinating conjunctions. They do not, I repeat, they do not create dependent clauses. If you see a compound preposition like because of that boy, The young girl got in trouble in class because of that boy is not a complex sentence. Because is there, yes, and I do agree because this is coordinated conjunction, everything is great when it's used as one. But it came before of making it a compound preposition. If you notice, because of that boy doesn't have a verb. So how can it be a complex sentence? The girl got in trouble in class. The girl got in trouble in class because of that boy is not a complex sentence. That's just a compound preposition. I know it got because, and I know they got while, and so forth and so on, and when. And I know these are subordinating conjunctions when they are used as such. But when they come before prepositions, they're not. They are compound prepositions. So we talked about that online. Yes? Yeah. Okay, so you got that. After two, that's a really good one. After a while. After a while, the boy got sent to the office. Is not a complex sentence. Sorry. Yes, sir. Quick question. Oh. You know this, no. Absolutely not. Sorry, I wish I could. But they said I can't. Okay, more, where they came from, so forth and so on. Okay, so, no. You can do that. That's why we did that. Yes. The compound complex sentence. Oh, I'm sorry. Contains two independent clauses or one or more dependent clauses. This is what you were looking for. 4. Had a little more, though. Yeah, this is the big time. This is the biggie, the big time of the big time when it comes to sentence types. This is it. This is the top of the line. 11th, 12th grade. I know you're in the 10th grade. 11th, 12th grade sentence. You haven't gotten here yet. This is where you want to be of the big time. See, in the 12th grade, they can write these. Right. They get so-called right these. Okay, so here we go. 3 independent clauses plus a dependent clause. Actually, it's 3 independent clauses, and we convert one into a dependent clause. Yes, with a subordinated conjunction. So that means we got 3 independent clauses. One, we can just add a subordinated conjunction to the beginning and make it dependent. Okay, we got that. But what about the other 2? And we got to do the same thing that we did with compound sentence, which is add a coordinated conjunction or one of the others. And then we got our, okay, so we understand that. All right, everybody's saying okay. All right, so yes, you see these examples or you saw them online. You wrote them. Excellent, you wrote them. Okay, another way to look at it. Yeah.
I have a question. Can there be like an independent clause and then another independent?
Yes, they can be in. A good question to me. Can it be this way or that way? It can be in any way. It can be a dependent clause in the middle of the first independent clause, and then 2 more independent clauses. It can be 2 independent clauses. And then a 3rd independent clause with a dependent clause in the middle, and it's still the same. So forth and so on. We just keep going and on and on and on. It can be any fashion or form. The point is, when you see 2 or more independent clauses and 1 or more dependent clauses, all in a sentence, you got a compound. In any way, you got it. Okay. So, I know this is the first time some of you have seen this. Yeah, I know. I mean, you couldn't really take notes when you were clicking so fast, or when somebody else was clicking for you, which is strange. All right, we won't talk about that. We'll just keep on going. Okay, so we saw all of that. We went over these. Did we go over these or not? Yeah, don't make a difference. We ain't going over these. Okay, so now we can skip this and we can get down to the sentence here. In Islamic school.
We'll talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, that's rolling the hard way. We don't want to roll quite that hard. We want to get one of them little minibuses.
What's up?
person who believes that this wasn't set up by our own government is an idiot.
Everybody's gone out of their mind.
Welcome to Mr. Quick's class.
Welcome to Mr. Quick's class.
Welcome to Mr. Quick's class.
Welcome to Mr. Quick's class. Welcome to Mr. Quick's class.
Oh yeah. All right. All right. All right.